Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And, that's right, another in our series of I built them so you don't have to. We are back, and what better way to jump right back into it in a champion I've been meaning to test for a little while. He seems like he might be a little bit of fun for the epic, free-to-play, low-spend player. But of course we're going to take him on the main account and put him on my best gear and see what happens. So without further ado, here it is. It's WEREGREN. WEREGREN's A2 is Terror Assault. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit will ignore shield buffs. Places a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn if this attack kills an enemy. Also places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn if this attack kills an enemy. And it is a 4-book 3-turn cooldown effect. WEREGREN's A3 is Vitality Feast, which swaps HP with an enemy, then grants an extra turn. 2-book, 5-turn cooldown. WEREGREN's A1 is Bestial Leap. It attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of stealing 1 random buff, and that goes to 50% on 5 books. Finally, we have his passive, which is Prey on the Weak. Deals 30% more damage against targets whose current HP is lower than this champion's current HP. With that said, now let's take a look at how we have him built out. Alright, so here is WEREGREN SUNCURSED. He's a Skinwalker Epic Void Affinity attack-based champion. And let me tell you, he is a nuker, but how good of a nuker is, that's what we want to find out. I've put him in my best overall gear, and there'll be a couple things I'll need to note here, but he's in some pretty strong gear, I'd say. Double attack, some crit damage, a triple attack banner, and this is the Savage gear that I have on my best nuker, which is currently Candrafon. I've put it onto him. Let's take a look at his total stats here. You can see at 7,251 attack. Pretty good for a starting attack of 1421. Keep in mind, no blessings, no empowerment, obviously. He's an epic, so this is a baseline. Pretty decent with 259 crit damage. Little low for my liking, but of course, again, we have no empowerment, no blessing, so we don't get any bonuses in that respect to be able to further his damage. But let's take a look at his masteries, then we'll go over his skills again. It's kind of a recap here. We'll bring up the masteries. I'll move over to the other side so you can see. And you see, I have him a little bit different just because my Candrafon, I didn't want to have to try to re-gear him all over again with all the blessings. I got a +2, or a bigger blessing. So because of that, I was getting the bonus crit damage, and or somewhere I got bonus crit rate. It might have been when I +2'd him. Do I have +2? I don't even remember why, but for some reason he was overcapped on crit. So I've needed to do the same here. So rather than giving him the crit rate, we just move him over to the attack. Give him that 75 attack rather than trying to re-gear and everything. That's why he's got that, but it does work overall. And of course, we want to get that Ruthless Ambush and, of course, Helm Smasher, which is going to give him that extra chance to ignore defense. And then the support line, we're just going for some ability to counterattack. We want to reduce the chance he can be crit, so or the amount of damage he takes when he gets crit. So that's how we have him built out. Now let's talk about his skills here, because his skills do beg to be discussed. There is kind of a neat mechanic to him. He's kind of a budget, couple different champions. You could say maybe a budget Brachus. He's even like a baby werewolf, so maybe it works. But so Prey on the Weak is his passive, and this is a big thing. He deals 30% more damage against targets whose current HP is lower than this champion's current HP. Basically, what it's saying is, hey, he's a finisher. He's there to finish the job. Whatever you've done, he wants to end it. So he's going to be a cleanup nuker is how I see him best in arena. If you have a couple, maybe you have a Magnar built out. And Magnar, weak affinity. He's not fully hitting all 4 champions necessarily. If he's up against a magic affinity, WEREGREN can come in and finish that up. On his A3, swaps HP with an enemy, then grants an extra turn. This is a neat ability, similar to Astrolith's, although he doesn't do an automatic attack. It's kind of a little bit different, I guess, but he does get that extra turn, so if he's low on HP, then he can turn around and attack. This bodes very well for swift parry. If you want to put this guy in swift parry, have that chance for him to survive. Then he can swap HP with that champion and finish the job. This is going to be a very potentially good against high HP or high defense champions that you're having problems killing. I'm thinking maybe Taurus, if we can get this to go. Now, this is the problem. I don't have him in swift parry gear. I think it's very hard to create a scenario where, like, oh, look, he's got very low health. We can now do our job. But you could think of it in a place where you're maybe reviving him with full H or with full turn meter, but not necessarily full HP. That might also help. But there's an opportunity. His A2 is where the big hit. He's going to attack one enemy 3 times. It ignores shield buffs. Now, I did take Shield Breaker on him. I don't know whether or not this negates the extra damage if they have shield, but it is nice to have an ignoring shield. He places a true fear buff on all enemies for 1 turn if this attack kills an enemy, and an unkillable buff on this champion if this attack kills an enemy. Very nice for some snowballing. Where I see it here is if you can get him in a go first team, he can put an unkillable on himself for a turn, which allows him to turn over to his A3 because he will invariably get hit. And so long as there isn't anyone removing or ignoring his unkillable, then he has the opportunity to then swap HP, fill his HP back up, and go. Plus the True Fear if you can get it on. Now, we don't have him built right now for the big accuracy, but you could build him similar to how I kind of see a Stultus being built or a Harima being built in that 250 to 300 accuracy, just to catch those off guard that aren't going to have high resistance. Put the fear proc on them, gives it a chance. Hey, anytime you can get a fear proc to proc, it is both the most annoying thing for you and when it happens to you, and the greatest thing when it happens to your enemy. So definite thought there. Then his A1 attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of stealing 1 random buff, booked to 50%. Pretty good overall abilities, but the most important question is, how hard can he hit? Well, in order to answer that, we're going to have to go into some damage testing. So let's move on into a dungeon, test his damages out, and see what he can do versus other single target nukers. All right, so I brought in a couple different champions. All have that possibility of single target. We want to take a look at Alika's A2. We want to take a look at Rodos's A3, or either or, really, to be honest. We're using a debuffer here. Is she going to be fast enough? Pretty sure she is. 243. That should be fast enough. So we'll be able to debuff and then test each of them out here. Now, just for comparison's sake, we have 64k at 40k HP on the Rodos at 273 crit damage, and he is in lethal gear. That's the 20%, right? So it's actually 5% less. Reason I use him for that is because he already has on his A3 that 60%. Plus, you put him in Helm Smasher, overall, just easier to go. Now, Alika is much weaker built overall. She's at 5,200 at 266. So I would expect, if we want to talk about pure damage, Alika's kind of the top of the single target table, or among the top, especially without situation, among the epics. So we want him to hit harder than her, given that he has 2,000 more attack and within 10 crit damage. We fully expect that he's going to hit harder than her with his A2 versus her I believe it's her A2, her single target. So let's go here first. Now, this is going to be his big hit, obviously. Let's do Taya, because there's 2 of them. So 127, 553. Now, this is hers. Remember, it ignores 50% of the target's defense if the max HP is higher, which it will be, and we'll see her damage there. 165. Now we get the opportunity to run here. And 40... about 150, 160. So it's actually a little bit disappointing. Now, she is, of course, ignoring a whole bunch of defense. We didn't get any of the fear procs because we don't have any accuracy on him. So we weren't able to fear everyone else. And I think that's probably why you're seeing the disparity between the two in damage. As you see, Alika just eked out. They're both in Savage, by the way. But Alika just eked out WEREGREN's damage here. It was very close, I would say. Rodos a little bit behind the ball. Of course, he amps up. I'm actually a little bit shocked that he did hit lower. Maybe that just shows how poor of a builder I am. Let's do it one more time here. And we're going to give his A2, or his A2 just to see. Now his A2 is hitting for 85. Her A2 again, 186. So you see there, Helm Smasher proc absolutely. And then you see his again 50, 40, 40. So you're seeing the procs there. So he's just not hitting as hard as she is, even though she has that 50%. I guess the real key to WEREGREN then, and we'll build him that way out slightly differently for Arena. We're gonna make sure he can land that fear proc. It really looks like the fear proc is the way to go on him because he's not getting that top tier damage. But there's one more thing to try. We got to try him with the A1. We'll try them all with the A1 here. A1 on road. Oops, I used the wrong person. 47. Big thing here, Alika. She gets the 2 hit, and that's her big. That's a 50-50. So she's hitting it around 60 to 70, and then she hit it twice. And then we'll see him. Boom, boom. 55-43. Now remember, he's not getting any of his passive bonus damage here, which is something that's very difficult for me to show because these guys have so much HP. Like he knocked 100,000 of her health and she's not even flinching. She still has a good 25% of her health left. That makes it very hard to show his bonus in this scenario where we can show it in Arena where there's going to be a lot more realistic opponents. But let's take a look at the numbers here. The numbers are again, 98. So the good news is he's always going to hit A1 better than her single shot, right? Like he's 98 to her 60 to 70. But she has a 50% chance of beating him on the A1, making that better damage. Plus, keep in mind she's got a 1-turn lockout and or an AoE damage dealing. So Rotos below the bar. I got to check. I'm actually kind of embarrassed with my Rotos. Kind of thought he would hit a little bit harder, but that's the way it is. Like he's got quad attack, and I guess we just got to work on him a little bit more. He does have 6,400 attack. Like I guess the reality is he's just going to keep amping up, and I don't need I can use him in lethal because of this ignore 60%. Anyway. So let's take him into Arena now. I'm going to take him into Arena right now without changing the gear. And then we might, even if we just switch out his banner to an accuracy banner to see if we can get some of those fear procs and if it sees it makes any difference in the total fight. Time for Arena. All right, so here we are now in the Arena. We're going to give him every chance to succeed at the start here. Don't laugh at me. I'm in Arena 4 because I really don't play this account anymore. And if you apparently, I didn't realize this. I'm sure it told me one time or another, and I just forgot. If you don't do so many battles in Arena, it will rank you down from rank 5 to rank 4. This is the second time it's happened. So what we would do here is we would hit them all, and you see, boom. Oh, we didn't hit him hard enough. So now we can go in with him. 3 hits, easy kill, easy win. And I think that's going to be probably the motif here. Let's try something a little different. Well, they're really fast. Here we go. All right, so let's see if we can. We're going to go first here, and then we're in trouble. That's fine. We might be able to lock some people out here. Looks like we did. Oh, everyone died. It's really hard to test in this. So then, boom, 56k on his A1. I'm hoping somebody lives here. Uh-oh. 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 It's okay. We're still alive. We're still... As long as she gets to go. Oh, this is a problem. This is a problem. Canfon's going to kill him. That sucked. God, whoever's Baron this is, we need to talk, because if you can't kill my Arbiter, okay. Well, I just need a double boost so I can get them to go here. Or I can sleep them, but I run the risk of a weak hit. Who do I have that's got boosts that I actually have gear on? We'll find out. Yes. So we hit this. Boom, boom. But look, she's alive. Let's boost again. And then let's see what damage he can do. Boom, boom. Yeah, like, I mean, it seems like it's so hard to say right now because I'm in Plat 4, but this is kind of where I see him being used. Also, because he can kill someone, if he can kill someone, get that unkillable on him, then he has that opportunity to the health swap. I do find that health swap very difficult to make use of. I think it's a little bit ticky-tacky, and keep in mind that he hits harder when someone has less health than him. But he's not a health champion, so it's a little bit difficult to get this going. But I do think he's got some decent power. I don't think he's a PvE guy because of that damage. We'll talk more about it in the final thoughts. But I think if you need someone in that arena, that single target nuker, you could probably use him. But why don't we just go to final thoughts and we'll talk about what we feel about WEREGREN. Was he Daybreaker? Daywalker? Is he whoever he is? Let's talk about him. Final thoughts. SUNCURSED. I knew he was WEREGREN SUNCURSED. My final thoughts. I'm very disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought he was going to be better. Here's what I have my problem with him. Okay, first off, we'll talk about the good. He hits hard. His A1 seems to be a very nice, hard-hitting A1. His A2 hits pretty well. That fear is kind of useful, or can be useful if you can get a little bit accuracy on him. I think the lower levels you are, where you don't need quite the requirement for so much accuracy, he would probably be a lot better. And overall, I think he's got a pretty nice kit on paper to have a little fun in the arena. My negatives on him is that his kit, while it looks fun, in actuality, to actually execute can be very, very difficult. For example, his Prey on the Weak, which is his passive, deals 30% more damage against targets whose current HP is lower than this current champion's HP. So that means this champion has to have lots of health. The other champion has to have near zero health. Now, he does have a mechanic to make this work, if you can make that mechanic work, and that is this. Swaps HP with an enemy, then grants an extra turn. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, so it's not like you can use this more than once in an arena fight, unless you're very, very lucky. But the reality is that means this guy has to get near zero health. To get that done, he has to kill someone with the unkillable. Now, this sounds like it all works and flows, but when we actually show it in practice, because he's a single target nuker, and because that True Fear still needs accuracy, which means you're taking away from his attack or his crit damage to give him more accuracy, to proc that, to give him a chance here. If he kills someone, then great. He's got that unkillable on him. Then he can do the HP swap, and then he gets an extra turn to hit someone. But guess what? This is still on cooldown. So now you're using his A1, which I said does hit hard, but it's not going to hit A2 hard. It's not going to hit as hard. He can't snowball, and that's what it seems like they want this one. And it's very easy to fix. I doubt they'll fix a champion like this, but let me tell you the easy way that you can fix this champion, and that is if this True Fear, first off, has a, I would say, 50% chance booked to 75 and cannot be resisted. It can still be blocked, it can still be cleansed, but cannot be resisted, because then you don't have to worry about his accuracy. It's not 100%. He's an epic, so he shouldn't just get an automatic fear. But if he got a 50-50 chance to land that fear, and it couldn't be resisted, and then people still can deal with him in other ways, I think that would make him a lot more usable with that. The other thing I think is very important is on this, so you use this to 3, you use this to 2, and there's still a 1-turn gap. If I'm thinking my numbers correctly, I think that using this should reset this skill. That way you always have this. So you start with this, you get the unkillable, you use this, and then it resets the skill. Why don't I think that's OP? Because frankly, this guy's a single target nuker all the way through. He's only ever a single target nuker. And you still have an unkillable, which has many ways to get rid of. There's champions that ignore unkillable. There's champions that cleanse unkillable. There's so many different, you can just stun him, crowd control him, and it doesn't matter that he has an unkillable. So unkillable doesn't give this guy immunity or able to kill with impunity. He still has to be able to get the job done. You make that True Fear non-resistible at a 50% clip, then suddenly he can hit at what he needs to be able to do without needing the accuracy, and then you get this reset. Sure, he might get a chance to kill 2 champions. There's still plenty of ways to counter them, but I think that way it'd be a little bit more fun. The reality is, I see this champion as a great mid-game champion. If you are low on nukers, you pull this guy. He's void affinity. He can hit hard. Very good for arena. However, and this is probably more important than even that, Other than the Void Affinity, there's absolutely no reason, if you're getting Sun Wukong, and you will be for the next little while, that you would build this champion over that. And there you have your single target nuker with an AoE and a stun and a polymorph and a self-resurrect. There's just too much on that champion. Granted, a legendary, but a free legendary that all of you that are watching this video will probably get. So overall, I just don't see a fun home for this guy. I wish I could say that he has a better home. The reality is, I think it's just too much of a complicated kit to have happen, other than for mid-game players. Maybe you just don't have the I don't know, the book. If you don't have the books, then it doesn't matter. He's still better than WEREGREN. I just can't see too many people needing a single target nuker like this when they can upgrade to someone like a Sun Wukong, who's just going to do a whole lot more for you, a whole lot better. Granted, Spirit Affinity is the only thing that WEREGREN has the Void Affinity, which is an advantage over. So, unfortunately, I think if they change this champ, he could be really fun. He could be fun into the late game, probably not end game. I would love to say that he is a Taurus counter. The reality is he has to live to be able to kill Taurus, and he'll never have more HP, so he's not going to get that passive proc for the extra damage. And then, so that means you got to have that HP swap, which means this guy's got to already have killed someone else on the team. Now, keep in mind, Taurus makes it impossible to kill people, especially if it's Taurus Marichka, because there's heals, there's unkillable, there's block damage, there's a whole bunch of things going on, all of which are against this guy. So the reality is, even in the one place you're like, oh, this guy could be a neat little niche killer for Taurus. Again, I think it would be too hard to get everything going where WEREGREN had no health and was able to be alive to kill Taurus. So unfortunately, I think this guy past the mid-game just isn't going to cut it for all but the most anemic of accounts. And even then, you're getting way too many free champions from logins that this guy would be better than them. Those are my final thoughts. What are yours on WEREGREN? How would you build them out? How do you think you would make them better? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for joining me once again for the I Built Them So You Don't Have To series. I look forward to doing this hopefully once a week. But in the meantime, of course, as always, please be kind, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.